afternoon, Nathaniel and Arunima. Thank you so much for joining us on this session where we try to interpret how organizations are making most of the apprenticeship. The system has been in the country for last 62 years, but I would say highly underpenetrated and highly underutilized, where we all know the impact and the effectiveness of the whole mechanism of on-the-job learning. Yet, many organizations have kind of stayed away from doing that. I mean, we have 40,000 organizations today currently that actively engage with apprentices. But the best part to look at is that over last half a decade, the momentum is kind of showing some green shoots, because the apprenticeship count has kind of doubled up. The reforms have happened, multiple reforms have happened. That's kind of simplified the system, the system as well. So, we conducted a poll and we realized that about 65% of the employers stated that, the apprenticeship is an integral part of the talent development strategy. And the reason why they want to get started is because of the, people augmentation or the workforce development and augmentation, but also it's a cost-effective way of creating and identifying talent rather than going the buying, process, which turns out to be quite expensive. And also the compliances factor has some bit of say in, when organizations are making the decision on taking apprenticeship. And of course, it's the CSR element, which, I've been talking to you as well, that, it qualifies for CSR. But the primary and the most important factor still remains that it's the staff augmentation or the workforce development is the reason for it, Both your organization, Nathaniel, you are representing, your organization where you have been using apprenticeship for many, many years now, right? And same goes for you, Arunima, being an automotive component, manufacturer, and Nathaniel, you coming from electronic component manufacturer. It's a hardcore manufacturing industries. But considering that apprenticeship has always been, very popular with the manufacturing setup, would just like to understand that for how long have you been doing apprenticeship and what was the whole genesis for getting started? So Arunima, maybe we can start with you on that front.
Great beginning, Sumit, and much needed topic and much deliberated topic in the organization of the auto component nature. I representing SONA COMSTAR, and wherein we are a heavy mechanical to now a product which we are supplying to all, the leading OEMs. And it's of a very critical in nature in terms of the world of mobility. Now, having said that, I'll walk you through with the journey in brief. I mean, we were, we incepted as a forging company, and over the period of last 4 to 5 years, our association with, team leads as well as the apprentice, side of it has gone manyfold. And that had primarily reason we have kind of entered into a product which is the leading product, and we are the front runner in EVs. In fact, we are a company which been running from last 25 years, and being the forging company, we have seen that transition coming out from workforce, which was largely traditionally being hired through contractor service provider. Now, totally and, in a full spectrum, we have set up the new facility using and leveraging on the apprenticeship. So yes, we are in, growing as we are growing. That's the workforce we are leveraging on. That's the workforce built up to the direct workforce and building up my organization. From a very minuscule percentage to we are using the full spectrum of the the apprenticeship got in my new facility, and the expansion, how are we growing in the organization.
Great. Nice to hear that, that you're kind of fully leveraging the apprenticeship quota and how you're utilizing it. But it is generally largely for the staff or the workforce development. Was that the whole genesis, or was it the compliance because it's an act, that kind of prompts a lot of organizations to first consider it, but only once they see the benefits coming out of it is when they try to scale up. So was it the compliance which was a motivating factor, or was actually the talent development?
compliance, remained to us as a very uncompromised factor, but that was not an objective. How had we engaged into it? Well, as I said, like we were growing and we were rapidly, coming up with a new set of it. But where is it all originated? Well, largely from the external, environment. When you operating in an environment, an ecosystem, make in India, digital India, skill India, right? And my factories are all, have moved from traditional set to all industry 4.0, well connected with IT, IoT. We have the best of the sophisticated machines all being scattered run. So in terms of, adding on that skill and leveraging on that skill was not a mandate. It was it was necessary requirement by the business, and hence we decided, and we are, having a healthy induction of these apprentices, and we are leveraging on it.
That's it. So probably it will be okay for me to say that it's been part of your growth, or how apprenticeship has kind of supported your growth journey. Since you were expanding, you needed people, skilled people, and how apprenticeship, you could develop that talent in-house.
Well, how had we looked at this talent engagement and, apprentice? As I said, like, we have set up the new facility, and wherein the best and the best machineries and scatter run, auto run machines, what we have. Now, in terms to have these machines running, and in terms to have that workforce, not only because, we are, with time and again, we are bringing a lot of digitization, robotization in the manufacturing, and it's a smart manufacturing. Now, how do we look at this workforce? They would not be only operating the machine, because man to machine ratio is also improving. And, and with that, we are, our dependency on running the machine, we are bringing it down. Now, this workforce is purely are being also been used with keeping in mind a meaningful execution, keeping in mind meeting the customer delivery, keeping in mind the high quality demands, delivery, keeping in mind the respect for the processes. So this skilled workforce is being looked, keeping in those factors in mind, and they are adding in a great value to the organization in terms of meeting all the stakeholders' requirement, which is required for the business to perform.
Fantastic. Mr. Nathaniel, what about you? I mean, you also manufacturing electronic component manufacturing. So what prompted you as an organization to get started with apprenticeships?
Thanks, Sumit, and thanks, Arunima. That was a great take on apprenticeship. I fully agree with Arunima that apprenticeship skill building is one of the hot topics today, and the need of the business and the country as we stand on the threshold of greater economic progress. Vishay, just an introduction, Vishay is a multinational, American multinational company, and we manufacture a wide range of electronic components. We used to say from pin to plane. In fact, we take pride in the fact that we were recently, involved in the moon mission. Many of our products were also used in the moon, the ISRO space mission. So it's a moment of great pride, a proud moment for Vishay. So Vishay actually manufactures and is part of several products, and we call it as a DNA of tech, because our breadth of products is a very foundation that brings modern technology to life every day for everyone. So we also are well positioned to propel the macroeconomic growth drivers such as sustainability, connectivity, and mobility. And we do a lot of R&D, manufacturing, engineering, not just in India, but also in over 20 countries across the world. And automotive is just one of the sectors which we are involved in. Industrial is our largest division. Consumers, computers, telecommunication, military, aerospace, and medical. So we are recently, like Arunima was talking about, her industry is mostly focusing on automotive sectors. We are into the next level automation, factories, electrifications, 5G, and so many other IoTs and everything. How we got into apprenticeship is, for us, technology is the most important facet of manufacturing. And initially we started off with the compliance. This is part of compliance. So we started off as a as a part of compliance mechanism. But later on, as the industry grew in the late 70s and 80s, we also understood the potential of the apprentices that they bring to the table, the amount of the skill building, the ability to harness a talent pool and also create a talent pipeline. These are the other factors which contributed to Vishay focusing on apprenticeship programs. So we have two manufacturing units here. The largest one is Loni, which was acquired from Philips and BC Components, which started in 1960s. And another one we have in Bombay in the Santa Cruz Electronic Export Processing Zone. So in both locations, we engage apprentices, and these apprenticeship programs are quite successful. In terms of percentage, I would say when we had NEEM programs, we had close to 15% of our, 15% apprenticeships in our organization. Right now, later on, when the NEEM was withdrawn, we absorbed most of them into our roles. And then we are now starting off with roughly about 5% of the apprenticeship. The target, which is the under the National Apprenticeship Program, the 1961, the statutory program.
Great. So I think why it was a trigger was the compliances, but ultimately it all depends on the skill set and the way the world of work is evolving and the way the new age skill sets are required. And I think that clearly comes out from both the two organizations that you represent. I mean, Arunima also spoke about it, how the automation, mechanization, and same goes for you also with the way, I mean, what was expected, the delivery or the output that was expected, you needed those skill sets that you were able to build in-house by leveraging apprenticeship. Fantastic. I think that's a great way to look at apprenticeship and using it. Now, since both of you have been using it for many, many years now, and Nathaniel, although you started off with NEEM, well, the objective still remains the same or the mechanism still remains the same, which is on-the-job learning. What would be the certain parameters basis, or I would say that what are some of the tangible benefits or the intangible benefits that you witnessed or are you witnessing when you are, developing? Like, for clearly it's the availability of the skill sets. But apart from that, are there any clear indications, tangible and both intangible, which you would like to highlight in terms of benefits for apprenticeship?
Yes, apprenticeship, besides, developing a talent pool, there are a whole lot of tangible and intangible benefits. The tangible benefits are, of course, it's very simple and clear that the apprentices come at an affordable cost. It's it's a cost-effective solution, and apprenticeship also helps you to get some subsidies from the government, so which is also related to the cost. And then once the apprenticeship comes on board, they are already trained, and you don't really have to start from the scratch. So they've gone through the machinery in some ITIs, where are the diploma institutions from where we hire these apprentices. They have a fair idea of what manufacturing is all about. So that actually gives us a jump start. So those were the tangible ones in terms of direct costs. But in terms of intangible things, I would highlight branding as an employer. We are partnering with various industries. In fact, last year we also tied up with the COEP, College of Engineering Pune, for degree apprenticeship kind of programs for BTech and MTech kind of people, enter kind of training engineers. And that actually gives us more visibility, greater visibility. And these apprentices, once they finish and they go out, they actually go out as a brand ambassadors of our organization. And then they're able to refer our companies. When we are hiring people, it actually helps to create that, the positive vibes, brand image awareness about the company outside. And on the other side, directly, if you look at it, there is also the CSR aspect of it, which you can call it both tangible and intangible. But the CSR also helps you to comply with the requirements on one side. And on the other side, it also helps that you as an organization, you're able to contribute to the skill development, and which is the national mission, which is an important, requirement where we are as a country today.
Sure. I think very apt points mentioned here. But Arunima, let's hear from you as well. I mean, with your heavily engaging apprenticeship and for many years, so what have been some of your tangible, results that you have been seeing, and even the intangible ones?
Okay, so Sumit, we have a very laid out tangible KPIs, which I normally, which we, showcase the benefit of, engaging the skilled workforce. Number one is like, of course, we don't look at it. We are way above than the availability of the skilled workforce. For us, it's like in terms of the, workforce. What is the number of multi-skilling workforce available? This is very, very important in my aspect of the business. Number of these skill levels we have dropped in terms of de-skilling, or we had done in percentage of engaging this skilled workforce. What is that automation we have brought in to bring down the direct labor, wherein the manpower, high extensive manpower work in lieu of the engagement of this skilled workforce. And most importantly, the ratio man to machine is what also we do monitor through this skilled workforce. Another, in terms of the intangible, and which we look at it from mid to long term, Sumit, as we are growing and we are growing multifold, number of products, what we have the, what is the business objective in terms to come up with that base, number of processes, number of capacity expansion, and number of, as we are serving to multifold customers, and come up with that base of like, meeting the customer requirement. Quote unquote, the heavy reliance comes on the skilled workforce, because they are the one who are meeting this aspiration into direct execution. So readiness of this talent to meet up my, end business objective year on year is directly been looked at how we are engaging the skilled workforce, and it working very fine in context of my business. And hence we see that, yes, of meeting our business vision surely and effectively. Yeah.
Fantastic. So clear-cut business outcome is because of the talent that is available, for your organization. But one thing very interesting you mentioned about multi-skilling and multi-level of skilling. Would you want to elaborate more on multi-skill? Because what I understand from multi-skill is also we talk about the transversal skill, where the skill set could be used for different job roles, right? Yes. So are you ready to that, or is it like, just want to understand a little bit more on that.
Earlier and traditionally, how used to happen, before apprenticeship, it was, the multi-skilling was an agenda, but it used to have that time of like, of 3 to 5 years readiness of the talent to, really work in effective manner of the multi-skilling. And multi-skilling, I totally meant is, the manpower able to contribute through multi-skills, working on the machine or multiple jobs, or meeting the different requirement under each of the function. So that is how we, identify as multi-skilling. But in terms of like, introduction and induction of this skilled workforce, we could not only, bring down that tact, the readiness of this, skilled workforce to handle the multi-skilling in just 1 to 2 years, but as well, to handle the kind of, as is alluded before, is like the sophisticated auto run machines is also one of the benefit we do see it at.
Great, fantastic. So I think it's clearly you have the business benefit. Nathaniel mentioned about the monetary benefit as well, that we're looking at. But while the software aspect was more on the brand building, Nathaniel, that you harped upon, and also, how you also become an aspirational organization for others to look for employment as well, because of the good practice as you're talking about, along with the CSR initiative, where you're seeing that how you're improving the livelihood and the employability of the youth. And clearly for you, Arunima, it was about creating the talent with multi-skill sets, with the diversity of skill set that will help them to, deliver on the business goals. And of course, if the skill set are not there, obviously your business mission does get compromised, which clearly is not the case in your case, and how it's actually, aligned with your business goals and business vision as well.
True.
Great, fantastic. Now, when we do, one of our research reports suggested that, there is a lack of understanding with the organization about the apprenticeship. And they really do not understand that how do we evaluate apprentices, right? For them is like, it's like a regular people coming and going out. But consider that both of you have a very formal and a structured apprenticeship system. What are the parameters that you consider to evaluate the outcome of apprenticeships or the performances of the apprentices? So Arunima, why don't we go ahead with you first on this here?
Sure. Undoubtedly, yes, we also experiencing the attrition, but that's how I believe that nature of that young youth, which is coming the part of the workforce. But yes, we do have a very, very strong, architecture, designed around development, induction to development to retention of this workforce. What we do have as we are a highly automated organization and mechanical processes, which is undertaking in my organization. We have a very, very strong year-on-year design for the development of these apprentices. Like in year one, we do have they go through a structured, we call it dojo program, which is making them ready to operate in the machine, then put across to an on-job training, then being put across to shadow the team leaders in terms of the daily work management, or participate for that matter the suggestion kaizens, because this is the educated youth who's there, so they do contribute on that part. And with that, we assess them. We do have a very, consistent assessment model. Year one, based on, timely assessment, we have a skill programs which we are running based on what we give them, the skill allowances, what have we defined, which keep them competitive and going. Year two, we purely, see the performance coming in line in terms of contribution towards the enhancement of daily work management, or for that matter, the direct contribution they are making in the set of machine they are working, or the line, we call it cell or line they are working. In the year three, purely we look them as how are they contributing in terms to bring down the machine loss, the productivity loss, the data analysis, the kind of direct contribution in the quality improvement, what is the direct contribution in the daily work management. So the very essential point to note out here is, Sumit, that in these 3 years of the induction to growth is the kind of contribution this workforce is making to the business, which erstwhile was, it used to happen, but it would take around 8 years plus to see those effectiveness coming from bottom up, from the shop floors. So that's the kind of infrastructure we do have in place.
Phenomenal, I would say that. I think I haven't heard such kind of a structured assessment program by any organization which you are doing. And I think it would be great learning for the others to look at some of your performance metrics for these apprentices. Nathaniel, coming to you, what are the kind of parameters that you assess these apprentices on here?
Thanks, Sumit. So we actually have 3 different programs which is currently run in our organization. The first one, obviously, is the statutory program, the apprenticeship program. And then we have what is called as a company engineering training program, which earlier had 2 aspects. One is learn and earn, where they will be doing studying, and then they will also be working here. It's called the learn and earn program. And then the other aspect of company engineering training is a 2-year internship in the organization. Usually the company engineering trainees are diploma candidates, diploma apprentices. And then once they complete the apprenticeship, the people who meet our criteria, evaluation criteria, are absorbed into the organization. In fact, over 20% of such employees have been absorbed. Some has supervisors and some has technical operators. The third program that we have is called the management program. Management program is both technical and non-technical. So there are a lot of people who are in the computers, COPA and all those things, who come here as apprentices, and then they get absorbed in either our marketing or sales or data analysis, those kind of functions. And those technical people in BE or MTech, those kind of people get absorbed as officers or engineers in our operations. So this is the three different kind of programs that we do. And I'm kind of more or less I'm aligned with what Arunima is saying in terms of the evaluation criteria. However, for us, we also look into the most important aspect of discipline and trainability. The people, their ability to participate actively and then learn new things. Especially our industry is a sunrise industry, electronic segment.
Yeah.
And then we heard continuous improvement is a way of life, because otherwise you'll actually be left behind in the business. So we participate in what is called a CI, continuous improvement events happening every year in the organization. So people do participate, and participation in these kaizens and small group activities, and also the other projects that they are involved in. These are the major criteria or the parameters which help us to evaluate the apprentices for subsequent progress in their career.
Fantastic. I think one of the elements which I look at whenever I'm meeting employers like you, to look at, that rather than looking at purely from an outcome, I think what they should look at and evaluate a candidate purely from an attitude and aptitude perspective, right? And one of the aspect is also on its learnability criteria, which you very rightly mentioned, that how trainable are they, But what's your take today? Like, do you see that the youth today are trainable? There is a keen interest, or it's like, like a regular thing for them? What's your take on that?
Gen Z are a different kettle of fish altogether. It's a different entity altogether. We do see a mix of these people. In fact, I'll be surprised, you'll be surprised that we take a lot of people from the rural areas, because we are actually outside Pune, and 60 to 70% of our apprentices come from outside Pune. They are from the rural background. And the commitment that these people have is really amazing. And they are also having the passion to learn is very evident. And I fully agree with you, which is why I said learnability and trainability were important aspects. In fact, we do have two sets of monetary payout for them. One is based on the skill development assistance we call SDA for learning skills, and the other one is basically for motivation, for spot awards, for giving suggestions and improvements and so on and so forth. So we do see a lot of these youngsters participating and winning a lot of these spot awards and cash awards. So I would say the youngsters haven't disappointed us, especially those from the rural areas. And I have very positive outlook about the Gen Z, especially from the rural areas.
Fantastic. Great. So, over last, I would say, couple of months, we've seen a phenomena or a trend where the women participation is being encouraged, and the organizations are now really looking at diversity as an agenda. And specifically in manufacturing, we've seen that there's a demand for women apprentices has gone up almost by 5 times. And so I just want to know that what's your take on this whole diversity thing? Because do you drive that agenda, and does apprenticeship supports this to identify talent and develop talent, from this particular, gender, and become part of the labor market? So Arunima, what's your take on the diversity? Or I would say that meeting the diversity agenda through apprenticeship.
In my current organization, I'm holding that KPI to take up that percentage to a, to a very transformative number. Yet we are running very remote on it, which is contributing 3%, contributing to the total workforce. But yes, in my, in my previous organization, I had the contribution in terms of working around with 30% of that workforce, and I'm purely talking about the automotive, which is highly engineering, organizations. When it does come to the diversity in place, with many other things like, in terms of diverse workforce, diverse ideas, diverse skill sets, yes, diversity is very necessitated by, for the business. In terms of like, to have the diverse workforce in place, which brings in the lot of unique contribution and the discipline into the organization, and of course, varied skill sets, it's very necessary that the business need to have an arrangement to really cater and to really contribute towards that diversity to be in place. A very simple example for women workforce is just that many states are now open up to allow for third shift, which was kind of a detrimental factor for many auto companies or labor intensive company to think in engaging women workforce. So now states are coming forth and making those giving those permissions in place. But in terms of like, women workforce, once you have that ecosystem in place or infrastructure in place, it's a fantastic team to have. You have discipline, you have skilled workforce, you have skilled diverse ideas, and most importantly, it's work in a very unified manner in an organization.
But do you think that through apprenticeship, you can fulfill that agenda? Because the idea at the end of the day is that how do you develop talent? And we talk about women talent here. So do you think that apprenticeship could help you meet your diversity agenda?
Sumit, apprenticeship is meeting the talent agenda. Diversity is a sub-factor to it. And yes, it is. It is indeed, because, skilled workforce by any which way, diverse or, engaging the workforce to make it a part of that, the entire talent pool. Yes, it does. Because the entire conduit through what the workforce is getting engaged into the business is through apprenticeship, right?
Yeah.
While this agenda of diversity is sitting very strong for, probably white collar job, but in the blue collar, yes, the induction is through apprenticeship is how I look at it, and we are practicing in the current set of business.
Fantastic. I think you really pointed out absolutely aptly that, that it's the talent agenda and diversity is a subset of it. And I think that's so like powerful statement that you just made, Mr. Nathaniel, what is your take on building up or driving up diversity through apprenticeship?
Vishay is a member of RBA, Responsible Business Alliance, globally. So, and for us, diversity is one of the pillars of our business practices. So, focusing on apprenticeship, which is the subject of today's webinar, our workforce, we have over 10% of our workforce is women. It's yes, and it has always been. We've always had this 8 to 10% representation of women in our workforce. But the most important aspect, the pertinent thing which I want to highlight today is the number of women, girls, the female apprentices in Vishay has shot up from 0 to 80%. And wow. 80%, when I say it happened during NEEM time, when I'm sure Team Lee's team knows about it, because we've been working with Team Lee's and onboarding these apprentices. So when we started off, we had all boys, because as Arunima was pointing out, the issue of shift working, and because we are a manufacturing company, so we had all these challenges and so on. But now the glass ceiling is firmly shattered, and all the women employees, women apprentices have actually accepted the apprenticeship in a manufacturing setup. And today, 75 to 80% of our apprentices are girls. And in various trades, like electrical, and also fitting. Certain trades are like computer operations. Most of these people are, girls, and our operations also feels. No disrespect to the boys, but our team also feels that the girls are a lot more disciplined, and they also, contribute to the diversity of the organization. And in fact, the supervisors have become a lot more conscious, and with our focus on POSH and various other governance mechanism, they are able to, acquaint and get along with the women, with the girl apprentices. And I must say, this experiment is actually quite successful. And as you see, we have reached almost 80%. So we would like to keep the numbers around 60 to 70%, because we are not against boys anyway. So we will be hiring as and when the requirement opens up. So this is where we are in terms of diversity on the shop floor. Of course, I already told you the other aspects of diversity with the rural, urban, the affirmative practice, and all that. It's all part of a Vishay. And so, though it goes without saying.
Fantastic. But clearly coming out that yes, talent is the primary agenda. That's so apt. Coming to my last point, to both of you, is that both of you have also been engaging with a partner, for outsourcing your apprenticeship as a facilitator, right? I just want to know that one of the ROIs also we want to measure that what's in for an employer to look at, outsourcing this whole execution process rather than, doing it in-house. Like for me, if I'm a TPA, I take it as a turnkey project for me. Like it's a turnkey agenda primarily, right? Where I try to do them end to end. But I just want to know, as an organization, what merits do you see in outsourcing it rather than doing it in-house? Mr. Nathaniel, would you want to take this up?
Yeah, I know that's an interesting subject. Always debated in the business as to why we are not doing ourselves, why are we outsourcing. For me, outsourcing has its own advantages. The administrative aspects of apprenticeship is completely managed by a professional organization, and issues like compliance and all those things are taken care of. So that as an organization, we focus more on skill building and scaling up the resources, and as she pointed out, multi-skilling and meeting up the various resource requirements of the organization. As I mentioned, this scheme actually helps us, greatly in enhancing the skill development and the operational viability of our organization. Not to say that because we are only about 10% or 15% of our organization is apprentices, but they do add that edge to our manufacturing, that skill X factor to our operations, because 85% of ours is our own people. But they do offer that extra, the X factor, which helps in bridging the skill gap. So that actually is taken care of, and all the other aspects of administration, compliance, everything is taken care of by our partner. And in this case, it's Team Lease, and which actually helps us. If it actually helps to ease our burden and focus more on our core activities, why wouldn't we? We would always want to do that. So that's the primary reason. And there is a buy-in from the business for this outsourcing of apprenticeship. So, and this is where we are.
Aruna, what about you?
We look at Team Lease as the preferred vendor partner in terms of meeting our sourcing, requirement, in terms of making that workforce available on time without having any loss to the business. While you're creating that pull for us to committing us to that sustainability, but there is a lot of engagement posted wherein we would like to rightly be focusing at, from sourcing to induction to managing to develop developing, to mobilizing this talent workforce to make our business sustainable, to really come up to the speed of the commitment to the end customer, and to really meet up that growth aspiration of the organization. Because, being and the field, the business we are in manufacturing, we are heavily reliant on our direct workforce, and wherein we equally rely on our vendor partners for providing that skilled workforce. So that's how we look at the return, and it's a very linear connect end to end.
Great. I think some very valid points, made by both of you. Obviously, outsourcing has its whole advantage as well. And, I think the apprenticeship today has scaled to that volume only because of the support which is now available to the organization, which help them not just to understand, but also to execute, at the ground level. Great. With that, we come to an end to this conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable inputs. I think make a lot of sense to engage with apprenticeship. And I hope, this conversation also inspires and motivates many more organizations to take up apprenticeship for skill development and to meet their business objectives. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you, Sumit.
Thanks, Sumit,
and
for
have
the
a safe
opportunity.
drive. Thank you.
We really enjoyed sharing our views.
Bye-bye.
Great. Thank you so much. I think it's a
Thanks,
fantastic
Nathaniel.
conversation.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
It was really a
Arunima.
pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Bye.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.